Okay, humans, here we have some case studies on emotions, but instead of treating with acupuncture herbs, we're going to be using emotions to treat emotions. We had an earlier one from Zhang Zihe, or Zhang Dairen, and here's another one that was written by Wu Kun, who was a late Ming dynasty doctor who wrote a book, Investigations into Medical Formulas. That's supposed to be a picture of him. And so in Zhang Zihe's episode, those were all stories about him. But here, these are stories that were collected by Wu Kun and not Wu Kun's own case. So you can see the date 1584 is when this was published. And so let's do it. A girl loved her mother intensely. After she got married, her mother died. She constantly longed for her mother until her Jing Shen shrank. So Jing is, what's stored in the kidneys, and Shen is stored in the heart, and it kind of represents body mind. Jing represents body and Shen represents mind. And so her whole being just shrank after her mother died. And she was just longing and longing for her mother. So I would like to point out something to you. When we learn the five emotions, or the five elements, and the emotion that's associated with the spleen is thought, and it's this character here. But this character not only means thought, it can also mean longing, yearning, pining for something. And I think that's important to understand. We could say she constantly thought about her mother, but thinking about is not going to have the same effect as longing for something. When you long for something, you're thinking about it constantly, but there's also a need that's in it. And so this is, the emotion of the spleen as well. It's the same character in Chinese. You just have to read it in context. So she's longing for her mother, and her whole being just shriveled up from loss. She became sickly and just wanted to sleep. She didn't respond to any herbal medicine. Her husband engaged a famous doctor, Han Shiliang, to treat her. And Han said, "This disease comes from thought, or comes from longing. It's not easy for her to recover with medicine. We must use special skills to treat her." He then bribed a female shaman, instructing her in secret what to say and what to do. So one day the husband said to the wife, who's pining away for her mother, "You miss your mother like this, and you don't appreciate it. Those of us who are alive in front of you right now, does she also miss you? I have to go out, but why not ask this shaman to come and do a oracle, a divination, a reading on this subject?" So the wife was happy. And she said, "Sure, I'll do this." And she summoned the shaman. They burned incense and performed a ritual. And then the mother's spirit descended into the shaman, who is a medium now. And the shaman spoke and was silent in this same way her mother was during her lifetime. She was really good at imitating the mother. The girl cried a lot, but then the mother rebuked the daughter, saying, "Do not cry. Your life overcame mine, so I died early. My death is all because of you. Now, in the yin world, the world of ghosts, the dead, I must report that you are my enemy. Your disease and sickliness are really my doing. When I was alive, we were mother and child, but in death, now we're enemies. I'm the one who made you sick. You're sick because of me. So don't, you know, weep like that. It's your own fault." She's saying, wow, that's pretty harsh, isn't it? Well, when she was done speaking, the girl's color changed and she was furious. She abusively said, I'm sick because of my mother. My mother has wrongly harmed me. Pleasure can I have in thinking of her anymore? And so she recovered from that time on. And, you know, Wu Kun says this is using emotions as treatment. So, this was how she got over it. I'm not so sure that we're going to live this way. So, this is anger controlling thought. This is wood controlling earth. He, gathered together a whole bunch of these, stories. Some of them are historical. This one is historical from very ancient times, probably from the Warring States period or something like that. The king of Qi, whose name was King Wei, became ill. And he summoned somebody else who was also from Qi. This was a state or a country in ancient China. So he summoned Wen Zhi to treat him. So Dr. Wen arrived and said to the prince, not to the king, but to the prince, the king is ill and he will recover when he gets angry. But if I do that, he's going to kill me. So what should I do? And the prince said, don't worry, I'll save you. So then Wen frequently visited the king, but whenever he came, he didn't take off his shoes like he was supposed to, and he even climbed into the bed of the king. Wow, so rude. The king was furious and had his servants grab this Dr. Wen. They were about to boil him alive when the prince, bowed, knocked his head on the floor, and requested to save the doctor. The king's anger resolved because I guess he really cared about his heir, the crown prince, and he pardoned Dr. Wen. So because of this, his disease recovered. And then Wu Kun's comment is the reason for this is that the king's disease came from thought, so they use anger to overcome it. Again, wood controls earth, anger controls thought, excessive thought. Here's another that's attributed to Hua Tuo, who's very famous doctor of the Warring States. Of the Three Kingdoms period. So a magistrate somewhere became ill. He recovered when Hua Tuo made him really intensely enraged. Hua Tuo had already received his compensation, but without successful treatment. So he took the money, but he didn't do anything to treat this magistrate. Before long, he abandoned the magistrate and left, just leaving him a written note with a curse on it. As a result, the magistrate was enraged and made somebody chase him down to kill him. Wow, so that's pretty bad. You take your payments, you hang out for a while, you don't do anything, and you leave a nasty note, and then you go. The magistrate's son knew about it and exhorted the officer not to pursue Hua Tuo. The magistrate's indignation, however, didn't cease. He kept, just stewing in his anger. So he vomited several sheng of black blood and then recovered. I don't know how much is a sheng. Maybe it's a couple cups. I don't know. Anyway, so the reason was that the magistrate's disease was also rooted in thought. And so again, here's another case of anger counteracting thought. In thought, the so Suan chapter 39 says thought binds up chi. Thought makes chi bind up. So it's not moving, and then there's stasis. And so black blood is blood stasis. But anger, of course, is in charge of coursing and discharging. It's in charge of the smooth flow of chi. So when make the anger burst through that binding, that stasis, that stagnation. Okay. So yeah, the classic says when thoughtful, chi binds. That's Suwen chapter 39. Bound up chi is the root of yin screens. So that just means like yin is thick and turbid and heavy and it's covering everything up, it's screening everything, so it's not got free open access. So, thus, using violent anger to injure this pathological yin made it return to peaceful regulation. And that's that. That's all there is to it. That's the story. Okay, another still from the same doctor collecting all of these. A northern Song prime minister named Han became ill. No rain came from the heavens. There was like a drought. Furthermore, 10 doctors had been ineffective in treating him. So Dr. Zhuo finally arrived. Once he had taken the pulse, Zhuo counted the date. They had like 10 heavenly stems and 12 earthly branches, which that category of stuff is often called the jatsa, but it means the date. So he counted the date on his fingers and said, it's going to rain on such and such a date. This wasn't what Han expected. And he was, that kind of upset him and worried him. He expected him to talk about the disease, not about the rain. He said, "Are you implying that my illness cannot be cured? Why did you just talk about rain and not give me medicine?" Okay, so in Chinese medicine, traditionally, when they thought a condition was fatal and couldn't be cured, they often just turned around and walked away and wouldn't treat the patient because let nature take its course, let the family nourish him for as long as they can, and to, make sure they don't get blamed, that your treatment killed them when in fact they were doomed from the start. So if a doctor took your pulse and then turned around and walked away, that was kind of like saying, oh, you're going to die pretty soon. And so here he's worried because he's not getting medicine. Maybe that means he has an incurable disease and he's going to die. So what happened. Later, it rained on the evening that Dr. Zhuo mentioned, and Han became very happy. He got up and walked around in the rain in the courtyard. By dawn, his disease was totally gone. It just fell off his body. And then he summoned Zhuo and asked him about it. And Zhuo told him, I personally gauged your devotion and benevolence to the people. This long-term drought must make you worried for the people. I knew that you cared about the people that you're governing. And so I took the drought as the reason that you were worried. So it needed to rain to be healed. This principle is in line with nature. Why would you need to wait for, why would you, need medicine to recover? This is Su Wen's joy overcomes worry. Okay, again, that's mm, actually, maybe that's in chapter 5. But joy is fire element, and worry is related to sorrow, which is metal element, and fire melts metal. So if he can feel joy, that will get rid of all the damage from metal, that will overcome the metal problem. So they're using 5 elements in a lot of these cases when they use emotions to treat emotions. If you have too much of one emotion, then they use the emotion that would control the one that you're feeling. Oops, that was the end. We'll have the next part sometime soon. So, okay, that's the end of this one. Those are the cases that Wu Kun collected and about emotions. At least those were some of them. Okay, okay.